Hi there. Welcome back to Performance Cafe 2.0. It's really cool to have you back, especially on a day like this. It's the 1st of September in South Africa. It's supposed to be spring day. And the only thing colorful is what I'm wearing, because outside it is dreary and gray and bleak. Really not what I was hoping from the ideal spring day. And it's great to have you back. And thanks for joining us for the next round of what has become, I think, the highlight of my days. And I'd first like to thank you all for your votes. It was very interesting that we saw two real key elements come up in the voting of the poll. The first is organizational culture, which people felt they wanted more information on. And the other one is performance in small business. And I can understand why, because those are two, corporate and small business, two very different beings. And so as we plan our content going forward, I hope to bring you ample of both sides of that coin. And of course, culture is as important in a small business as it is in a big business. So there'll be ample for everyone. So today I wanted to start off by letting you know what our plans are. And that is that on Tuesdays, for your sins, I'm going to be here at 11. I know I'm late today. Don't go there. It was a client thing. And I'm going to be here at 11, and I'm going to be having coffee with you, as we have been doing for the past, or during the 21-day challenge at least. And then on Fridays, from next week Friday, so the second week in September, I'm going to start with a series of interviews where I will be speaking to a bunch of people around performance in their organization, in their industry, in their context, across contexts maybe even, so we could learn from each other. So look out, because I'll start advertising those on LinkedIn and Facebook pretty soon. And I'm really keen to see those up on our YouTube channel as well. But for today, I wanted to speak about a really interesting aspect of organizational culture. And again, this is not only pertinent in small and large businesses, actually the whole concept of culture, I think, gets its beginnings in small businesses. So it's quite interesting. Simon Sinek, in one of his books, he says that it is really easy to establish a community when we have 100 people or less. The moment we have more, people don't know each other's names. They don't really get to see each other or hear from each other or see the odd email or hear the person's voice on a conference call. And so I think that the truth there is that we are based on community as social beings that we are. And that when we start a small business, and I've actually been through this twice now, where you're a couple of people sitting around a table, normally someone's dining room table, and there's this passion, there's this productivity, there's this pride, there's this drive to keep things going. Right, there's pride, there's passion, that work is driven, it is your baby. And so these individuals sitting around a table never need to communicate overtly with each other around very much, because there's always this aspect of we can hear each other. So when one person is talking to the other person, well, everyone else can hear. And that is what establishes the culture. What gets shared, how it gets shared, who it gets shared with. And very often it's quite an open, quite a broad-based communication, right? We don't go, oh, well, let's step into the meeting room and discuss it. It's like, oh, well, we're out of money. How are we going to get more money? Irrespective who hears it, because we are all equals. We are all passionate contributors, and we all have a vested interest in making this work. Now, what happens? Well, the company grows from 4 to 8, from 8 to 12, and all of a sudden, the hierarchy starts coming in. And no matter how much we would like to say there should not be hierarchy, to some extent in businesses, there has to be, because otherwise everyone will be busy with everyone else's, insights and learnings and work, and it actually gets distracting. So it's not about a lack of transparency. It's more about what our team has to focus on and what we need to do to move ourselves closer to our goal. It's not so much about we need hierarchy and transparency because some people are cleverer, more important, have more of a vested interest or not. Right. So I'm definitely not promoting that. So what I am saying is that often we say, oh, I'm a small company, I don't need a culture. Or a slightly larger company will say, oh, we don't have any trouble with culture because we don't have one. We've never written it down. It's not on the walls. And I think this is where so many companies get it wrong. Nature abhors a vacuum. And so therefore, there are very few instances where there is nothing. If you've not set a culture in your organization, it doesn't mean you don't have a culture. It means you're just not in the control of it. It just means that that culture is not aligned with what you want for your business and how you see your employees in your organization work and make decisions and function together. And so this is for me the important learning, is that when we fall in a room, it's not that there's not a culture. There's a very clear culture. The problem is that if we don't, as a small company, identify that culture and what it must be and what it must look like in order for it to best serve our company, then when the company grows, there is no way of making sure that that culture complies with what we need as an organization to implement the strategy, to support our leadership, to get performance from individuals. So, what I'm saying is, no matter how small you are, no matter how big you are, please make sure that you have an organizational culture, something that is agreed to across the organization and can become the basic tool for ensuring performance in the organization. Because that's what culture is. Culture says, how do we live here? How do we work here? How do we interact here? How do we make decisions? How do we disagree? How do we suggest new courses of action? Without placing some form of framework in place for people to know how to do those things, you open up the door that everyone's going to do their own thing. And when everyone does their own thing, then sometimes we get to the point where we have inconsistencies, we've got favoritism, we create politics. Not saying people mustn't have freedom to be able to do these things in their own way, but if they do it within the structure of the culture, then it is much better managed from day one. I look forward to seeing you next week and hearing what your thoughts are on our first interview. And I will be releasing the name of the first lady who is going to be filling the spot of the interviewee for us. And I want to thank you for coming back to the Performance Cafe. Our YouTube channel is still there. Please go and like and subscribe, as well as there is our Facebook and our LinkedIn posts. You can always go and like, comment, and share there. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you on Friday at the next Performance Cafe.